Alright boy, and we're. The new championship season is almost here, and up first for Ipswich is that long trip up to Sunderland. There have been some pretty special players that have played for both Ipswich and Sunderland over the years, some who've performed well for one and not so well for the other, and one or two who have been a hit in both East Anglia and in the North East. This is Blue Monday's Played for Both Clubs 11 for Ipswich Town and Sunderland. In goal we have Kelvin Davis, who signed for Ipswich back in 2003 and enjoyed a fantastic 2 seasons between the sticks. He produced some of the most outrageous saves I've ever seen from an Ipswich keeper, and his accurate long kicking was a breath of fresh air after the Andy Marshall era that came before it. Davis was signed by Sunderland for £1.25 million after their promotion to the Premier League in 2005. But he struggled making the step up in a new team and only made 33 league appearances before departing the North East. At centre-back, I have Titus Bramble, who played in the top flight for both of these historic clubs. After graduating from the Ipswich Academy as a teenager, Bramble made a barnstorming start to life in the Premier League, even scoring a superb solo goal against Sunderland in the 3rd game of that glorious first season back in the top flight. Bramble was sold to Newcastle for £6 million in 2002, making over 100 appearances, and after a decent spell at Wigan, signed for Sunderland in 2010. Bramble suffered from injuries and off-the-field issues at Sunderland, but made 47 league appearances for the Black Cats. Yes, Bramble was prone to the odd high-profile error, but most that saw him up close remember him as a decent Premier League centre-back. The manager who brought him into senior football is at right-back in this team. George Burley is an Ipswich Town Hall of Famer after playing a crucial part in 2 of Town's greatest ever eras. Burley's playing days were before my time, but he's been described to me as a classy ball-playing defender and arguably our greatest ever fullback. The Scotsman won the FA Cup and UEFA Cup for Ipswich before departing for Sunderland in the mid-80s, where they never really saw the best of him. But Burley did at least help them through a promotion before departing for Gillingham. At left back is a man who enjoyed the best years of his career at Sunderland. Chris Macon was a solid but cultured fullback who was a key part of Peter Reid's Sunderland team, who were promoted in 1999 and enjoyed a top half finish in the Prem the following year. Macon repeated the trick the following season after signing for Ipswich in the spring of 2001, as he helped Ipswich to a 5th place finish. The fullback played 2 full seasons at Town before departing for Leicester in 2003. On the right side of my midfield is Carlos Edwards, who at the age of 44 is still playing association football at Hadley United 16 years after signing for Sunderland in his late 20s. Edwards was arguably at his peak during his 2.5 years at Sunderland, helping to power them to promotion with some awesome goals in 2007 under Roy Keane. And Keane went on to make him one of his first signings at Ipswich in 2009. Edwards wasn't quite as devastating at Town, but did entertain us with some incredible strikes and helped steer us to Championship survival in 2013. Also in midfield is Grant Ledbetter, who moved to Ipswich alongside Edwards. Local boy Ledbetter was a firm fan's favourite at Sunderland before Ipswich paid £2.6 million to sign him. Ledbetter was almost ever present for Ipswich in his 3 seasons with us. He was a hard worker and scored some decent goals, but I never felt we really saw the best of him. He returned to the North East with Middlesbrough in 2012, where he enjoyed 6 decent seasons before finishing his career back where it all began at the Stadium of Light. Also in midfield is friend of Blue Monday Tommy Miller, who had not 1, not 2, but 3 spells at Town. After being released as a youngster in the 90s, Miller returned the following decade and showed us what he was all about. An energetic midfielder with the knack of timing runs into the box and a dead-eye penalty taker, Miller reached double figures for goals in successive seasons under Joe Royle. Miller was sold to his beloved Sunderland in 2005 and scored 3 times in 29 Premier League games in red and white. After falling out with Keane, Miller eventually found his way back to Ipswich again, but his second spell wasn't quite as fruitful. Miller is warmly remembered by Town fans though, especially those who were given lifts around Ipswich in his fabled Audi TT. In the number 10 position is a player much loved by both fan bases, Eric Gates. Gates was one of the great entertainers of Ipswich's UEFA Cup winning side in 1981, with his dribbling skills and ability to find pockets of space making him one of the best individual talents to ever play at Portman Road. Gates departed Ipswich for Sunderland in the mid-80s, where he enjoyed a roller coaster 5 years, which included a relegation and 2 promotions. Like at Town, Gates was a fan's favourite on Wearside and was their Player of the Year in the 1987-88 season. Attacking from the left is Darren Bend, who like Bramble came through the Ipswich Academy before later playing for Sunderland in the Premier League. Bent had lightning pace and formed a deadly partnership with Shefki Kuchi while at Ipswich. He scored 56 goals in 140 appearances for the Tractor Boys before departing for Premier League Charlton. Bent signed for Sunderland in 2009 and scored 24 times in his debut season and was unlucky to miss out on England's 2010 World Cup squad. Bent reached double figures for goals the following campaign too, before breaking Black Cat's hearts by moving to Aston Villa for a cool £18 million. Also in attack, and doing a lot of the legwork for my centre forward, is Daryl Murphy, who made over 100 appearances for Sunderland in the late noughties, scoring 14 times, usually playing out wide. Murph had 3 separate loan spells at Ipswich under Roy Keane, Paul Jewell and then Mick McCarthy, who signed him on a permanent in 2013 and gave him the number 9 shirt. In 2014-15, Murphy's beast mode was unleashed. He was unstoppable, scoring 27 times as Town reached the Championship playoffs. The Island striker proved a lot of doubters wrong during his time at Ipswich, including me, but after moving to Newcastle from Town in 2016, he's probably not too fondly remembered by those of a red and white persuasion. Completing the list is the star man of this team, Marcus Stewart. A £2.5 million signing by George Burley in 2000, Stewart came up clutch for Ipswich in the playoffs, scoring 3 times to help propel us into the Premier League after 3 years of playoff heartbreak. Then came an incredible 19-goal season as Town finished 5th and qualified for the UEFA Cup. Stewart then scored a couple of memorable goals in the European tour that followed. Stewart was sold to Sunderland in 2002 and established himself as a fan's favourite there as well, making over 100 appearances for the Mackems. The manager for this team is of course Mick McCarthy, who probably wouldn't be particularly fond of how attacking this lineup is. To his credit, McCarthy enjoyed some great times at both of these clubs and was a master of man management and grinding out results. I'm sure he'd have been a success with this incredible team at his disposal. So there it is, my play for both Ipswich and Sunderland 11. Apologies that I wasn't able to find space for Terry Butcher, who is of course an Ipswich Town icon, but less fondly remembered in Sunderland. Also shout out to the likes of Martin Waghorn, John Stead and the late Martin Fulop, who would make the subs bench. Please hit the like button if you'd like to see more of this type of content and let me know in the comments what you'd have done differently with this team. Thanks for watching.